look over, like kind of peek over like this. I'm just making sure everything's okay.
That's fine.
Like you don't have to stop. You just keep going.
No worries.
But why don't?
The wire thing too, not the third one.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you're much of a fidgeter at all, but a lot of people tend to play with the wire if they get a little nervous.
No,
So
I don't do
yeah,
that.
if
I'll
you're not,
probably
if
play
you
with
don't-
my watch
yeah,
more
if
than
you need
anything.
something to fiddle with, we'll get you something. But the wire's definitely not the right thing. But why don't we start with? Why don't you tell me your real name if you're comfortable?
Yeah.
Your tag pro name, and then tell me how you decided on that tag pro name.
Okay, that's easy. So my real name is, my tag pro name is BALLDONTLIE, and the way that I came up with that name was I had joined the game as a sunball, obviously just like anybody else, and was kind of rolling around and saw a lot of names with ball puns, and I was like, okay, I'm a big lover of puns, so I was like, gotta get my own. First thing that came to mind, I'm a big sports guy, so I immediately thought of Rasheed Wallace. He plays in the NBA, or played in the NBA, and he used to yell "Ball don't lie" whenever he would commit a foul and the player would miss one of the free throws. Just kind of one of those funny things. So I immediately was like, oh, that's going to be my name 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually funny because when I first started, I was very proper with my name in terms of like how it looked. So I did capital B, capital D, and capital L, and the apostrophe and everything. So it looked really bad, and I'm glad like eventually I changed it to all caps.
Switched it up.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the rest of your legacy a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
So, when did you start playing? Like, how did you find the game?
So I think, like most people that you've probably interviewed, I found it through Ask Reddit. I was just browsing, bored one day in college, and I think it was my freshman year. It's probably around, would have been late 2013, early 2014, and was just bored looking around and found it and decided to play a couple games, check it out. And I immediately fell in love because I was obsessed with the whole mechanic of juking. I loved that. So I've always been obsessed with that with players in the NFL or in college football. So I immediately kind of had that connection.
So what is it about juking, like more specifically, like what gets you, what gets the gears going inside of you when you hit a nice juke?
It gives you, so obviously I related it to sports, but I guess the feeling that you get when you juke someone, there's just that momentary space where both players are at an impasse and someone has to make something happen to either get by that person. And when you do that and it's successful, you just get that rush of adrenaline. It's just a good feeling. And anytime it happens when you're watching sports, it's an immediate reaction of, oh, so it's kind of that feeling.
It totally is an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
It's like, this is kind of weird, but like whenever I would be like stuck with a cold,
Yeah.
and like my nose is all stuffed up, I'd be like, all right, let's go play tag pro, and you get that adrenaline hit, and
Right.
like it clears your nose up.
Sure. No,
So that's just I don't know.
no.
That's
That makes sense to me.
That's my thing. That's my cold buster. But so you got into the game.
Yeah.
You started playing pubs,
Mm-hmm.
and you said like, was it really like the first game that you got hooked, or was there sort of like a, this is like a fun game and playing, and then eventually it became, this is something I'm gonna put a lot of time into. Was there a moment where that happened?
So I actually didn't start really getting into it until my second semester of college, because my first semester I kind of just played it sparingly here and there. I was instantly hooked, just not in the way, because at the time I had been playing NBA 2K, and that was the game that I was really into, like competitively and everything like that. So it wasn't initially something that like I put everything into, but I did really like the juking, and I don't know when I decided to make the switch, I guess, but I just noticed it started taking a lot more of my time away from 2K, away from college, everything else like that. So I was like, man, this is really fun. Like, it's actually a good feeling. So I just kept playing, and then I came back my second semester, and that's when I started really getting into it.
Is that when you got on Mumble? Like how
Yeah,
did you get
so
introduced to Mumble?
that summer in between those two semesters is when I first went on to Mumble. And I remember one of the first people, this could be one of those shout outs, one of the first people that I talked to his name was Charlie ... I think he had a couple dots after his name. He's not a really well-known player, but I just remember him sticking out because he was one of the first people on Mumble that I talked to. I had seen him in pubs a lot. and he was just like nice and welcoming, so that was nice. I don't know if you remember back in the day in Mumble, they used to have like separate channels for specific servers. So like there was a Radius, a Pi,
I think those are
and
still there.
are they?
I
I
think
haven't
so.
been on Mumble in forever, man. It's Discord killed it all. But yeah, I kind of hung out in the Pi channel despite having better ping to Radius, and that's where I played most of my pubs was Pi at first, and then he was like the first guy, but after that it was pretty much from there, like just getting more and more involved.
Yeah. So do you like people kind of identify with a certain server? Do you identify like as a Pi player?
No,
No.
easily Radius.
Okay.
Easily. Actually, my best actual ping is Origin, but nobody ever gets to play on Origin. It's even in competitive, it's like pretty rare. So I identify as a Radius player, but in my head, Origin, Radius, and just kind of East Coast is basically the main thing.
Yeah, that's fair. So what was like? I guess maybe like I ask you like what Ask Reddit push was this? Was it Dirty Push? Do you know?
You know what's interesting is
time it was?
I tried to find like the thread in which I found it, because I didn't comment in the thread or anything. I just clicked the link and started playing. But I couldn't figure out ever what push I was, because it was hard to see like if I had joined like, you know, late December or early January or what. So it was hard for me to pin down exactly what push was or what push it was. So I'm honestly not sure.
But it was like 2014.
It was like the end of 2013, beginning of 2014. And then that like March or April was when I started actually like playing a little bit more.
Gotcha. So what was Mumble to the community? Like what was Mumble as this like shared space? How did it function?
I mean, in my opinion, Mumble was kind of everything in terms of how people communicated with each other. Obviously, you had Reddit, but in terms of the relationships that were built through the game, Mumble was right in your face. I mean, you were talking to people face to face, and you could hear them and they could hear you. And there was definitely a sense of community within that. People would hop channels to say hi to different people. There were nightly tournaments. There were all these different tryouts for the upcoming seasons. I remember those, man. The rooms were just packed. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, Mumble was a huge part of it. Huge part.
And what was your kind of how did you first get into competitive? Like who did you get? How did you see like that there was a competitive scene? Do you remember how you felt when you found out about that?
It was interesting. I don't exactly remember how I found out about it, but I do know that at a certain point I was just browsing through, and then I found the MLTP subreddit and was kind of like, oh, okay. I had always been a competitive guy. Like I said, it comes back to the sports thing. So immediately after high school, that's kind of when my sports career ended. I wasn't good enough to play in college, so I was kind of looking for a competitive outlet, and I know that's probably a popular thing for people to say. So for me, it was like, oh, here's this thing that, you know, I want to improve at, and there's tournaments, there's an actual league that I want to get into. So I was just like, I'm going to sign up, see what happens. And then I think I initially signed up for season 6, but because I was not quite that involved yet, I think I got drafted to a team, but I didn't like show up to any of the games or anything like that. I didn't show up to practices because I was busy with college. And then season 7 is what I consider my first season actually playing. And that was because I actually met Bowtie, who was a pretty popular player at the time, through a different game altogether. Fez was my season 6 captain for the Reptiles, and he had played this game called Unturned. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I remember that being.
It was kind of like
Minecraft?
it was kind of like a Minecraft / Hunger Games type deal where you were like killing zombies and stuff like that, but like building houses. I don't know. He told me to download it, so I did. It was free. And then I met Bowtie through that. And then in turn, through Bowtie, he was really good friends with Yassarian and Helen Keller, who were also good buddies because they had played on the same minors team, the season 6, small caps. And then Yassarian became the all caps captain the next season, season 7. And that's kind of how I got drafted into that team. So, and that's when I got to change my name.
Yeah. So, how did your first season go? Like, you were playing minors, or were you?
I was drafted in the auction draft for 0 tag coins, which I thought was cool at the time because obviously I had never played in the league. Nobody knew who I was.
But I guess how did you do a lot of tryouts? Because that usually doesn't happen. Or did you have good pub stats?
Well, so that's what it was, is that I just hung out with Yassarian and Helen Keller a lot. I just pub with them all the time in groups. They would just shoot the shit, basically. And I would just play with them, and they were like, oh, this guy's like decent. So it wasn't anything more. I always went to tryouts, but it wasn't, people kind of overlooked me, I guess. So it wasn't anything big on that end. It was just kind of building those connections, those friendships. And then they were like, oh, we want this guy on our team. We think he could be good. So I went in the auction draft, but I did play minors. Back then, the auction draft had like a lot more slots to draft people. So the last 2 picks were your like top 2 minors players. So he drafted J Mart, who had been a previous small cap, and then he drafted me for 0 tag coins as well.
Well, okay, so why don't we step away from the competitive stuff for a bit and
Sure.
go towards just general tag pro stuff.
Yeah.
So what is like, if you have one, what is like your favorite, I guess, play to execute? So you have like juking or like a nub step or like a boost snipe.
Oh, I've got the answer prepared already.
Yeah, go for it.
Especially early on in my career, not so much now because I've kind of switched to defense a little bit, but I've always loved splitting, like splitting the defenders. Oh my God, there's like no better feeling because always have the same reaction. It's like, oh shit, like Jesus Christ, how did you do that? How did he see that? It's one of those interesting things that, again, went back to the juking thing. It's that little adrenaline rush that you get. I always just remember having a knack for seeing like those openings that a lot of people couldn't see. And so I always tried to attack those because in my mind, it was a weakness that the defense had. They wouldn't be able to prepare for it in a sense.
Is there anything that you would do to sort of set that up?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
A lot of the times, it depends on the map, but a lot of the times if you kind of reverse, cut back a little bit, you can kind of see where the defense is thinking in terms of their contain. And if you see one guy going down to the left a little bit and a guy going to the right, you kind of just back up until they can get a little wider because they're trying to close in, and then you just shoot the gap, basically. It's the best way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk about like the physics of the game a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's sort of, it's very momentum based.
Yes.
And so sometimes there are these moments where people already have momentum and you know it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like how do you think about how the physics of the game play into your understanding and your enjoyment of it?
For sure. I think anytime the physics get brought up, I always come back to Tag Pro Next and when Lucky Spammer and Ank were trying to push that, because one of the biggest changes that they made that I was very against was essentially the movement where you go diagonal makes you go faster in Tag Pro, but in Tag Pro Next, it didn't. You were the same speed everywhere. And because they got rid of that, in which they said was a bug, it actually took a lot of the juking and gameplay away, I felt like. So just having that diagonal speed, it changes everything, especially on the offensive side, because you're trying to manipulate the defenders and where they're able to contain or where they're able to go, because they're going to be following you. So everyone having been the same speed in Tag Pro Next, it was a lot harder to get anything going. So I think any time that you basically have that diagonal movement, it's just so important for an offender to have, because they can, again, manipulate the defenders, but also move in different directions that you wouldn't be able to in games like Tag Pro Next.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk more about Tag Pro Next since you brought it up.
Sure.
I think a lot of the devs would say that the non-normalized movement, which is that diagonal's faster than straight.
Sure.
They say that wouldn't be a big change. Why is it so monumental to so many players?
I think because of that, it's kind of like the X factor on offense. Because when everyone's the same speed, it's a lot easier to read people and what they want to do. When you have that change of direction, that change of speed so suddenly, it makes it a lot more difficult for defenses to predict what the offender's going to do. And I think that's why people were really against it. I mean, other than that, it just felt bad. Like,
was it like more just a change in general, like than what you were used to, or
That's
was
the
it?
thing is I try to look at things objectively, and I always give the benefit of the doubt, especially to the devs. They've done so much, but for this, I knew it was going to be a problem. It wasn't just like, oh, I hate change, like change is bad. It was actually like the game mechanics felt just not clean at all. Like it was very, I don't want to say slowed down, but it just, the defenders were able to basically control the entire game, and that was kind of gotten away from the balance that we had in Tag Pro.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like when you have that diagonal movement in there, or the speed, diagonal speed,
Hmm.
you sort of get these like swooping
Yeah,
arc sort of feelings.
you can for sure.
And like, if you have a flag carrier going straight horizontally and you're above them, you like swoop down onto them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that their attitude towards it had anything to do with the fact that a lot of devs weren't really playing Tag Pro as much as they used to, and weren't really playing it at the highest level?
It's hard to say for the general standpoint because I know that they felt very strongly that it would work in terms of like the future. But again, it's kind of like how you brought up. They weren't playing competitive, and they definitely weren't playing competitive at a high level for a long time. So when every season the teams or players, I should say, get better in terms of the mechanical skill. They understand the game a little bit better. They know how to hit the walls exactly right to do certain things. So I think there's a higher understanding from those players that the devs maybe don't have because they aren't forced into those positions. The reason these players learn these moves, these ways to juke and to get off the walls and everything is because they're put in situations where the other players know exactly what you're going to try and do, and you have to try and create something, some sort of advantage to try and get past them. So I think that them not having been in that position in a long time, they kind of just, the game evolved so much without them realizing it, and I think that's where the disconnect was.
Do you think also part of it potentially was sort of the idea of like, you know, as much as they would have hoped, there wasn't going to be two parallel communities. Like one was going to win out.
Yeah.
It's at least to me that's how it seemed.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So was this part of the idea of like the top players in MLTP saw somewhat of a threat to their skill level with Tag Pro Next coming in?
Certainly possible. Because if they had gone through with the change and they had gone through with having both games side by side, you certainly would have seen a sort of a race to be like, oh, I got it. It's kind of like with Smash Brothers, and when they moved to the Wii one was the Brawl, I think.
Brawl.
Yeah, how things changed and how much things slowed down in Brawl, and then it was kind of like a race to see who could be the best at that. But it was such a different game that different people were better at it. So I think that's kind of what would have happened in this case. And it would have been fine if we had a larger community, but because we had such a small community and we weren't growing, especially at the time, I probably would have killed one or the other, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yes. What else can we talk about with Next? Do you think that they should have just gone through with it regardless?
I'll tell you what I think they should have done. I think they should have kept the movement from Tag Pro and gone through with some of the changes in Next. Like, I thought the game looked a lot better in Next than it did in actual Tag Pro. I don't think anybody would really disagree with that. So I think mainly the textures was the big thing for me, but they had a couple of interesting ideas that I think would have obviously changed the game a little bit, but not to the point where it's breaking the game. So like I remember the bombs. If you weren't in front of the bombs, they wouldn't affect you. So like on Wormy, for example, if you hit the button, it's not going to affect your ball in any way, but if you're on the other side, it's going to send you flying. That's obviously different from Tag Pro because it affects the entire radius. So things like that. The boosts were a little bit different in terms of your control. And I know that Lucky played around with the little cannon thing. That always cracked me up because of Ginseng's video. I don't know if you've ever seen that. But yeah, so things like that. maybe not the cannon, but like the boost and the bombs. I think they could have gone through with that and been okay. And I mean, it was just nice when they first released it. It was just nice to see them be passionate about something again, because it had felt for a while that like, well, we're not really changing anything right now. We don't want to do anything, and maybe that was why, because we didn't know about it at the time. But then things kind of fell apart in terms of Tag Pro Next, so they got a lot of backlash, and that kind of killed their will in a little sense.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like that was sort of the, not nail in the coffin, but sort of the last attempt to really, because I feel like during maybe let me explain a bit of my overarching structure for this film.
Sure.
Yeah. And let's just take a break while I'm doing that.
For sure.
So we're still talking about Tag Pro Next.
Yeah.
But do you feel like how do you feel the player base sort of felt once Tag Pro Next, once the devs decided to pan it or to continue working on Classic? Was that do you remember that being a significant moment for maybe you and specifically the community?
I remember being sort of excited, just in the sense of, okay, well, at least they're listening to the community and they're going to give this a try in terms of Classic. I remember not too long after that everyone was on the hype train about the Congregate push. Like, oh, this is good, this is it, this is going to give us the player base that we want. And then nothing came of that. And then it was something else after that. They made some sort of change. I forget what it was. Maybe adding texture packs, or maybe that was before. But I don't know. It just felt like they were slowly working on the game, tinkering with it, and it just felt like it was building towards something. And what that was, I have no idea. But it did feel like that. It felt like, okay, well, they're giving this a shot. You know, they're going to try and do something with this to get our player base to increase. And then kind of just fizzled out for some reason. I don't know what it was, but I feel like the player base in general was pretty, I would say, optimistic, or at least excited, until they weren't. And then things kind of fell apart quickly after that. And then, of course, the volume slider memes and all that stuff came out. So it kind of felt, over time, it was, again, like that optimism, that energy, slowly turning into memes, and then slowly turning into attacks, like on the devs. So I think that kind of pushed them away, in the sense of like they weren't willing to work on stuff because they were just going to get made fun of every time.
Yeah. How do you remember the Ask Reddit ban specifically? Do you remember?
No, I don't think I was really that involved with the community at that point in terms of like following every little thing. But I do remember specifically asking about it for the first time, and someone explained to me, like I asked on the subreddit, like why are we banned from Ask Reddit? And then someone explained to me like what happened, and I was like, fair enough. So I do remember, I will say this just like as a side story, I remember it was after our Ask Reddit ban, and we were, you know, it was kind of a dull, or I guess a lull, like, would be a better word, a lull in the action of like getting players to come. And someone, I don't remember who it was, put in an Ask Reddit thread about like video games and stuff, capturetheflag.us, instead of obviously Tag Pro, which had been banned. And that actually got like one of the biggest upvotes. And I don't think a lot of people, you know, from Tag Pro went over and like upvoted it. I think it was just something that like automatically jumped up. And it lasted maybe an hour, if that. And then the Ask Reddit mods just put it down right away. But at the time, it was really exciting because we saw it rising through the ranks of the comment thread, and you're just like, oh, here we go, we're gonna get players. And I think we got I'm sure we got a handful at least from that. But it was just kind of funny, like we were so desperate to just have these new players, have this influx of new energy and new enthusiasm for the game. But it just never really worked out. We couldn't find a way to get past the Ask Reddit thing.
Yeah, I mean, why was there such a sense? I mean, it didn't start as desperation, but what did people want the game to be? What did people see in the game that they hoped it could become?
I mean, there's always the kind of gold level that everyone that goal was Steam. Being on Steam was like the epitome of what people wanted. I felt like because it would give us such. I think really what it spawns from, honestly, is people fall in love with the game, and they think it's such a great game, and they love the competitiveness, they love the casualness. I remember one of the first things that drew me to the game was that I could join a game, play for 2 minutes, and then be done. That's not very common for a lot of other games like CS:GO or Rocket League. You're kind of locked into a match for a little while. But I think when people fall in love with that game, they want to share it. They want people to enjoy what they've enjoyed. And that's obviously going to bring more people to it, which will make it more exciting for the person that has already been playing it, because they can kind of show them the ropes and at least dominate for a little bit. So that kind of thing. I think that's really where it spawns from. It's just that love of the game that they have for themselves.
Do you think that it truly was just a matter of not getting enough eyes on it, or not having the creativity to get eyes on it, or more so that the people who love the game they're
Toxic?
the type, no, not toxic. They're like the type of person who would love Tag Pro, and not everyone is that type of person.
I mean, if you ask me personally, I would say it's the eyes thing, just not being able to get it out to a broader audience. Because I think from a very young age, like especially in America, I don't know, maybe in Europe, but from a very young age, like in gym class, capture the flag is one of like the first games you play. Obviously you're people in that scenario, not balls, but it's just a very simple concept of a game. But what was really cool about Tag Pro was that there was so much more depth to it than what was on the surface. You kind of looked at the game and you're like, oh, okay, you just try and capture the flag, you get past these people. But then it was boost routes and blocking a certain way and juking and all these different mechanics. And you're like, whoa, this game has way more to it than it looks like. So I don't know. I think that was a big part of it. Like, too, is just like if more people got to see this, then I think they would have really been into it.
How did the simple controls play into that depth?
I mean, the simple controls by itself, I mean, just saying simple controls, you're like, oh, it's simple, okay, easy. And then you actually do it, and it's very easy. There's no turbo button, there's no shooting button, there's nothing. You're just WASD or arrow keys, depending on who you are, WASD. But it's just, it was cool because it was so simple in terms of like how to move the ball, but then you figure out slowly, like, there's a lot of different ways to move the ball, even with those arrow keys. There's a lot more different functions than just going up, down, left, and right.
What about corners? How do corners play into it?
Ooh, now we're getting deep into it. I like it. I think it's mainly used as an offensive tactic or an offensive mechanic. I guess I would tie in corners and walls in general into the same thing, just because it's such an advantage, even today, when people are so good mechanically. It's such an advantage to be able to take someone's momentum, and they're following you, they're chasing you, and be able to hit something, hit a wall, hit a corner, and completely stop your momentum. There's nothing like that in the game. The juke juice comes the closest because it gives you like more of that acceleration power. But in terms of just being able to halt your momentum on a dime, there's nothing like using the corners of the walls, and that's going to send the defender flying past every single time. I mean, unless they're grief seeds, and then he reads them pretty well. But just in general, they're so important. You can do so many cool things. I think one of the biggest pet peeves that I have is when people say like maps, especially in competitive, maps get stale because, oh, we played them so much, we know everything to do on them. But all the time I'm seeing people do things that I haven't seen before in that map. Maybe hit a corner a different way, and then it becomes, oh, how did they do that? Like, let me perfect that. And then it becomes, I know for a long time, people didn't even know that you could boost through middle on pilot. And now it's become like a common thing. Like, people try and go for it all the time, and they may not be successful, but they can do it from that bottom boost. And so there's just always something that I feel like can be discovered on a map no matter how much it's been played. There's always a new route, always a new kind of move that you can make or boost that you can take into a different route that hasn't been seen before.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are only 4 directions, but because of how slow you move, it's almost like there's every direction.
Yes, exactly. It's very like when I look at my ball on my screen, I'm not thinking like, oh, I can only go right, I can only go left. It's kind of like arrows in all directions. It's like whatever direction I want to go, I can go that way, and that's kind of cool just from the standpoint of like it gives you a lot of options.
What sets better players apart from worse players, or maybe even better teams?
It's kind of a loaded question.
Is it?
It is because it's hard to like pinpoint to one thing. I think a popular answer would probably be just general team awareness and communication for the team standpoint. Having communications on, I mean, if you look at an MLTP game or even a tournament game versus a public game, it's going to look night and day. I mean, there's communications that, oh, our flag is out, no one grab, we're going to play solid OD. Or, hey, try and get a grab, they have a tag pro coming in. You're not going to be able to know that in pubs unless you're able to see them grab that pup. But just that communication and honestly, chemistry plays a big part of it too. If you're playing with teammates that, it kind of goes back to in sports or anything like that, you want to play your best for the people that you care about in a sense. Like if you're teammates with a bunch of your friends, you're wanting to do well. You're wanting to like get to that goal that you have, which is the Super Ball, the Mooper Ball, the Booper Ball, whatever the case may be. Because it means more when you're playing with your friends. So I think that ties into it a little bit. And then in terms of individuals, I would say that what sets them apart is awareness, and also just very sound understanding of how the mechanics work. Because a lot of times you look at like a player in NLTP and they might not read a boost exactly right, or they might not read momentum exactly right, but those MLTP level players are going to read that pretty much every time. So it's just an understanding of how the mechanics work and their awareness of what is going on around them. A lot of times I notice in younger players or players that are stuck down in those lower levels, they get tunnel vision in a sense. They don't understand the game as a whole. Like they say, oh, I have the flag, I'm out past 2. So they're thinking, oh, I'm gonna come in and slam this into the cap, you know? But in reality, they don't know what's going on in base because they either aren't paying attention or whatever the case may be. They're just trying to make something happen. But it's a lot more than that. It's understanding like, okay, pups are spawning in 10 seconds. Instead of trying to slam this in for a cap, I should hold off and wait. You know, this boost is going to spawn in 5 seconds. Maybe I should delay a little bit. You know, just things like that. Working with your partner to get a grab or to get a contain, that kind of thing, I think sets apart the best players from the weaker ones.
Right. What's your go-to flare?
I've been using the, I love that question. I've been using the coin flare, but not the Mario one, the $40 donation flare. For, I want to say the first season I used it was probably season 11. Yeah, I believe it was season 11 of MLTP. It was the first season that I used it, and I've been using it ever since. Before that, I think it was the daily flare, but I didn't really like it that much.
Why do you like the coin flare?
Yellow's my favorite color, and it's kind of like a goldish yellow. But also, I don't know, I just always liked the look of it when I watched like Kanazian or Legman play. They play with the same flare. I always liked the look of it on their ball as compared to like other flares on other people's. It just kind of fit. And once I put it on there, I was like, oh yeah, this is the one that I'm going to use for sure. Because before that, I kind of switched between the daily flare and the flame for like the 100 degrees.
Flame was cool.
Flame was cool. It was all right. It was all right. But then once I got that donor flare, I was like, oh
I feel
yeah.
like Flame was like, all right, I'm in it.
I'm
now.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it was a big deal when I first got it. I was like, yes. I remember when I got the daily too, sorry Dad, I skipped a day of class to get the daily because I was like, man, I really want to get one. And at the time I was like, yeah, I bet if I get that, it'll be easier to get the weekly or the monthly. I really love the monthly flare. but there's no way in hell. After I did that daily, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is not going to happen. There's no way I'm going to try for that. It took forever.
Yeah, I mean, how much competition is the monthly? Or how
Back in the day, it used to be crazy. I don't know what it is now because obviously I haven't paid attention, but I don't remember, man. It just used to be like, I remember getting that daily and I was like, oh, okay, this probably sets me up like decently for the weekly. Because I played pubs quite a bit even when I wasn't going for the daily, but I had never gotten one before that. And then I played the daily and I was literally playing for like, felt like 20 hours. And I was like, this is awful. Like I had a music playlist and everything going forever. And I wasn't even close to a weekly, let alone a monthly. So God only knows how people get that. I don't understand it.
Why don't we get back a bit into your competitive experience?
I'm okay with that.
So, tell me when you started to feel like you were really becoming an established player.
Sure.
And what season was that?
So, just to quickly go through, season 7, I was a minors player. I would say mechanically, I had the tools to be a good offender, but awareness-wise and everything, it was kind of like that tunnel vision I was talking about. I would just kind of do my own thing regardless of what the rest of my team was doing. But I was very jukey. I was very good at juking and had plenty of highlights and all that stuff, but my team kind of suffered for it, I think, a little bit. So season 8, I became a captain in majors. So I drafted a team, and we were doing pretty well until Big Swingin', one of our players, quit in the middle of the season. I think it was after, if I remember correctly, like week 5. Up to that point, we had done pretty well. I was kind of like up in the capture leaderboard, and we were doing well as a team. But things kind of fell apart quickly after he left, and then we had just missed playoffs on captive to Legman's team, which was 30 Seconds to Mars Ball. And I think at that point, I hadn't really established myself as like I wouldn't even come close to an elite MLTP player. But I would say I was average, maybe a little bit above. And then season 9, I got to play with Halsey, who I had a lot of respect for. He was kind of like in my list of offensive players that I wanted to play with, among him and TPR and like a couple of other offenders. But I got to play with him, and he got to kind of show me the ropes in terms of like what I needed to change to improve my game. And I think we saw that because we made it to the Foci 4 that season, and we upset the #1 team in the East, which was Base Gods at the time. And he showed me a lot about understanding when to come into base instead of just kind of like ramming it in versus going for pups or getting a grab in general. So I got a lot better at OD, I got a lot better at grabbing, and just a general understanding of the game. Season 10 was a little bit rough, but we had a lot of moving parts. And then season 11 is the season I would say that I finally kind of established myself, and that's the season that I went to a Super Bowl. We ended up losing to Toasty and Meal and Paul McCartney and Sidewalk. But I got to play alongside Milky, and we kind of tore up the league in a sense. I think that was the point where I came in second for most improved player that season, behind Hark, which that was his breakout season. So I think from that point on, I kind of evolved into what people would probably consider an elite player. Kind of had a little bit respect towards my name. And then from seasons on that, I pretty much was just considered really good and kind of went from there.
Did you play last season? Like, what was the last season you played in?
I've played every season since season 7.
So you have the most minutes of any...
No.
No?
I have the 3rd most.
Who has the most?
Sidewalk has the most by like a mile. Dude has played since like season...
Because Magic Pigeon put out that spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Sidewalk, it wasn't you?
I'm pretty sure it's still Sidewalk.
Have you seen that spreadsheet?
I saw his spreadsheet. I know based off offenders, though, does Magic's account for only majors?
Well, I think it had all of them.
Oh, really?
I want to double check.
Well, I only say that...
Maybe it was offenders, because Sidewalk was a defender, right?
Yeah, until the last couple seasons he's played offense and minors, which is kind of why he's probably fallen off a little bit in terms of his minutes. But For a long time, it was Sidewalk, and then I think RB Bear, and then
RB Bear.
I was third. I think so, if I remember right. I was looking at the spreadsheet like a week ago, but this was an old spreadsheet, so maybe it's updated since then.
There was a very recent one. According to the historical data,
I am up there though.
you're definitely top 5, but
Oh, 100% top
if
5.
you're number 1, I think, because like you know, most people have fallen off, and you've just kept going.
Yeah.
So, but let's see. Slow enough.
People used to joke that sorry, I just remembered this.
No.
People used to joke all the time that Super Bowl 50 would just be, because right now we're just about to start season 19, and they said that Super Bowl 50 would just be me and JJ Poole in an OFM, because we would be the only 2 players left playing the game.
JJ still plays?
No, he doesn't, but back then it was kind of considered that he would be playing for like the rest of the time.
I thought I had my facts straight. Able to be actual record books, an all-time niche.
I always use Fenders. Magic Pigeons has a little bit too much data for me.
But it's accurate.
No, it is, for sure.
I'm just cutting this.
Yeah.
So after hours of research, I've determined that you're the player with the most power-ups
Yeah.
to ever play Majors. So do you put an emphasis on power-ups?
I do.
Why?
I don't know how to put it into words exactly. I would say that it's just kind of one of those suspicions things, like where if I don't get the pup, that means they do. And I feel like every time that they win a pup, it's a tag pro. And every time I win a pup, it's a rolling bomb. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where like I want to give my team and myself the best chance to win. And a lot of the times that means getting pups. Obviously, sometimes it can cost you too, like going for pups in situations where you should be getting either flag play OD or whatever. But I try and balance it as best I can. I kind of always end up with the most. And if you actually look, I don't generally lead the season in like pups compared to the other players. I'm mostly just always in like the top 5, I would say. So there are people that are certainly better in terms of going for them every single time, but I think I just have a good understanding of like when to go for them and versus when not to, and I take advantage of that a lot of times.
So you've played every single season since you started.
Season 7, yeah.
Why? I mean, a lot of people I've talked to, they say once the player base stopped growing, that it kept being a lot of the same players. So what keeps you, and that became sort of boring to them, right?
Yeah.
So what keeps you playing Majors?
It's a great question. It kind of ties back to what I was saying earlier about the game being a competitive outlet. I'm a super competitive person, and when I didn't have anything to do in college in terms of that competitiveness, I didn't have football, I didn't have track anymore. There were intramurals, but it wasn't quite the same feeling because everyone was too laid back. So having that league to fall back on and be like, you know, I want to improve at this. I want to be the best. I want to get to that level. There was always a goal. And every season my goal changed. Like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to improve this part of my game. That's kind of what's kept me going. And I think a lot of times players believe that they've kind of peaked in terms of how much they can improve. And I've never really thought that way. I think I can always improve. I'm never at my best. I always want to be the best, but I think that comes with trying to improve always.
What's your goal for next season?
I mean, the goal nowadays is always the Super Bowl. Since I won it in season 16, I haven't had much success. I've got bounced out of the playoffs in like the first round past couple seasons. But I mean, it's always going to be the Super Bowl now. I already have one, and I think that if I can get a second, then I pretty much be a shoo-in for Ball of Fame, which is my ultimate goal. So, other than that, not really much. But
Do you feel any of the same sentiment that some of the older players who have since left feel, where it's like every season they're just kind of shuffling around the teams and seeing what happens?
not really. And the reason is, I always look at it as a like a new challenge. A lot of the players, I think, especially the top tier players, they get frustrated when they're not on a team that they don't want to be on. But then at the same time, they refuse to captain or something like that, so they can't choose their teammates. And so it just kind of turns into like that they're not enjoying the game that much because they're playing with teammates that they think are lesser than them. And it becomes a struggle to win games, and that kind of like turns them away from the game. You know, there's people yelling at each other, stuff like that. I've always been a pretty positive guy in games. I don't make a habit out of yelling at my teammates. But I think mainly it just comes back to like, I don't know, wanting to improve. And like, I really like showing younger players like what to do in situations, especially when they're really open to it. So that's kind of never bothered me. I mean, I played with Arm Branch the season that we won the Super Bowl. I played with him as a rookie. He was a rookie coming into the league. He had played forever, but had always been like an NLTP or in minors. And it was really fun to like kind of go over film and tell him why I was doing certain things and why he should be doing this while I'm doing this. And he was really receptive to that. And because of that, I think our team really improved. And we were able to go all the way that season. So that kind of thing, I don't know, I've always kind of strived to be a leader, I guess, for lack of a better word. But, you know, I just remember coming into the league and the people were so nice. And nowadays it's not really like that. Like, I remember coming up, it was Yassarian, it was Kanazian, it was all these players that were just super helpful, super nice, and just welcoming. And nowadays, like, anytime you get a younger player coming in, people are a little bit harsh on them. Like, if they make a mistake, it's like, oh, what the fuck are you thinking? You know, like that kind of thing. So, I don't know. I think things have changed in that sense. But
Why did they change?
the nice players left, to put it simply. I mean, Yassarian and Kanazian and Micro and all those guys quit. And then the people that were kind of left to pick up the pieces were the people that were skilled and really good at the game, but not very nice to people. So I think that's kind of had a big impact. But at the end of the day, people are still going to find, even those players, like, they have a community within Tag Pro as well. Like, I know people are going to say, like, the cronies are probably what they're thinking. But, I mean, in reality, that's fine. Like, they can be the cronies. They can do whatever. They're still nice to each other. It's mostly just how they treat players that, like, aren't good at the game but are trying to improve, that they just kind of bash. But, I mean, it's different for every person. Everyone treats everybody differently, so.
I feel like a comparison for Tag Pro is Hacksball. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it, and I played it like one time, but I didn't think it was similar.
Well, I mean, there are obviously big differences, but in terms of like some of the first players who played Tag Pro were Hacksball players.
Really? I did not know that part.
Like Wrecking Ball.
Okay.
Example. He was a Hacksball player. And Hacksball nowadays is like everyone's in private or in games, and if you go in there and you don't really know the game,
You get slammed.
you get yelled at, yeah, and
Yeah.
you get berated. Do you feel like that's just sort of a natural progression of a game with a pretty high skill ceiling lasting too long?
Yes and no. I think that is the case for a game that doesn't have a growing player base. When the player base becomes stagnant and doesn't have any growth, you're going to get that, because the people that, for example, I have a friend that I've tried to introduce to Tag Pro several times, several friends, and when they come in, they immediately just get berated in pubs. I mean, people are like, what are you doing? I always have to explain he's new, like, take it easy. But anytime that you have a player base like that that's not going to grow, those players are going to continue to get better, and the players at the bottom aren't, because they're going to be pushed away from the game because they're playing against people that are way better than them. So anytime that happens, I think that's going to be the result.
Yeah, you're probably right. But going back to this like second era of the game, the golden age, let's say. Um, what was the how much community contribution was going on? Like
Oh my God.
what was sort of the feel of beyond just playing the game, like streamers, like the power rankings, like what was going on with community contributions that benefited the game and made it better?
Oh God. I mean, it's one of the most interesting things about our community, I think. Um, I haven't been that in depth with other games, but I don't think other games are doing a bunch of like top 10 videos. And I remember Ebola was huge and Nakoba was huge in like terms of like the big board and stuff. Creating profiles for all these different players. Now we have Tag Pro League and you kind of look through the history, but before that, it was just these guys' knowledge of these players. They would literally post their pub stats, post their MLTP stats, NLTP stats, and write draft comments based off tryouts. And it was just kind of a unique situation in terms of like
What were we talking about?
the community involvement in
Right.
terms of like what people were doing
Yeah.
as community content. So like we were talking a little bit about what always impressed me was the draft boards, just because there was so much detailed information. Like people would actually sit down and watch like film of tryouts or just go to tryouts in general and just watch players play. And I think Ebola was the biggest one. He would come out with these reports, and I always remembered I wanted to be a part of those reports, and I never was. But he would say like, "Oh, these are some sleepers in the draft that you should consider. These are some top tier players that you should consider, et cetera, et cetera." And he just from watching, he just liked watching. And yeah, I mean, he was a player himself, but he always was detailed in his reports. And then you had the top 10 videos, which for me was so cool because like I said earlier, like I would have big highlight plays and I would just submit that into the video. And it was kind of like watching yourself on SportsCenter. It was like we had BBQ Chicken at the time who would do like the commentary with Krosky or Krosky, depending on who you ask. But it was so cool. It would be like, I remember there was one play like in minors where I had a great juke and Ball Don't Lie takes it out and he's just, the borders are literally overlapping. How is he not getting tagged? And it was just such a cool feeling to feel that involvement and be like, wow, it's kind of like you're a star player and all this stuff. Like, it's just very cool. People would come out with the power rankings of teams, have their own opinions. It would get the comment thread going wild, like, oh, you're crazy, blah, blah, this team's gonna kill it. Just stuff like that. It's just so cool.
So how does all that tie into like Tag Pro being this competitive outlet for you?
I mean, that was a huge part because I think when I started, like that stuff was at its peak. So it made me want to be good. Like I said, I wanted to be on Ebola's rankings of like up and comers or whatever, people that perform well in tryouts. I wanted to be in those top 10 videos. Obviously, like people came out with the record book. I started the record book not that long ago, and then Fender kind of took over things, and it was just kind of cool to see your name. You're kind of like considered a part of that MLTP history. So it was always kind of cool just to have those things that kept you going and kind of made you want to be good.
Okay. Let me pull out my list of questions.
Do it. Are these Ball Don't Lie specific questions? Or is this
No,
general
no,
questions?
these are more like just talking points, I guess.
Okay, no worries.
I honestly haven't gotten to do obviously like a ton of research
That's okay.
on you.
No worries, man.
So beyond just being a competitive outlet, like you said that the Mumble was where all the relationships between people formed. So how do you feel like you made some pretty close friendships from Tag Pro?
Absolutely, absolutely. I still, to this day, text Yossarian every now and then just to see what's up. Bowtie, I was in contact for a while with. He kind of fell off a little bit, but now that people have moved to Discord, it's a little bit easier to contact them. Like Halsey, even though he quit, like I still talk to him every now and then. One of my good buddies, Arm Branch, obviously we won that Super in season 16. We're good buddies now. We talk all the time. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to have that sense of community because it was very personal, very intimate in terms of like how much time you were spending with these people over a game of capture the flag. Then it evolved into playing other games at night, and you get these kind of friends for life in terms of like, if you want to play a round of CS:GO or Rocket League, all these people are like, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's launch a game. So that's always cool. It's always cool.
And did you meet any Tag Pro players in real life?
I did one meetup. I haven't been big on the meetups, like, because a lot of the times they're not in Ohio, and I'm kind of lazy in that sense that I don't want to travel very much. But yeah, I've met up with Aardvark and Sidewalk. We went out actually I want to say a couple days before the Super Bowl 11, which we ended up losing to Side's team. But me and Aardvark were on the same team, and we met up with Side, and we went to 16-bit, which was an arcade bar, and then we went for a couple of rounds of bowling, which was pretty fun. Because I smacked both of them and was talking trash, and then I blew it in the last game and was horrible. So, yeah, it was kind of cool to see them in person and kind of put a face to a voice in a sense. And you kind of meet these people and it's like not who you expected at all. And other times it's exactly what you expected. So it's kind of cool from that standpoint. I remember early on, like a big thing was I think Tiny Chat, which was like videos of like you could have like video of yourself on there as well, and people kind of did that. I think I met a couple people through that in terms of like seeing them for the first time. But yeah, so I've met up with a couple people.
And like, why? What compelled you to go out to these meetups beyond it just being convenient? You know, like most online communities, they have some meetups, but I feel like Tag Pro has
A ridiculous amount.
like, disproportionate to the size of the community.
Yeah.
Many meetups. So why do you think it facilitated people coming together in real life so readily?
Well, I think it comes back to I think that's one of the advantages of having a community that's so small, is that you get to know these people very well. You kind of can relate to them in a lot of the same things, and you learn a lot about their personalities. And so when you have those personalities mesh, you hang out a lot more, and then once you do that, it makes sense to meet up just because, I mean, you're friends at that point. And so meeting up is kind of a very natural thing to do just because it's just like friends grabbing a drink. So from that standpoint, I think it just made sense for a lot of people in the community to do that.
Okay, I'm just gonna be extra careful. So we're still talking about meetups.
Yeah.
So you get to this meetup with these people that you already know,
Mm-hmm.
and you put the face to the voice. You're like, all right, this is who I thought it was. And then they come out and they say, hey, you know, I'm Aardvark, but
You're going to talk about the names?
my real name is.
Yeah, that's always one of the like funnier parts about the meetups is that first initial awkward stage. I mean, just here, like when we were like, oh, I'm BALLDONTLIE, but my real name's Ian. It's just kind of one of those things like, we actually, I think, talked about it before I met up with Aardvark and Sidewalk. We're like, so are we going to use like real names or are we going to use like our Tag Pro names? And I think it was Side or Ard, one of the two, that was like, oh, I'm just going to use your Tag Pro name the whole night. And I was like, okay. So that's definitely one of the most awkward things about it, but it's always funny. And
Well, I mean, how do you think about it? Maybe let this wind die down a little bit.
sure.
Okay, probably good.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with calling them the Tag Pro name. It depends on what it depends on what their name is, mostly. Like, I know there's that one girl that plays the name of Nipple Fart. I don't really think I'd feel comfortable in public being like, hey, Nipple Fart, you want to come grab an ice cream cone with us? No, that's not going to fly. So in that case, like, yeah, I'd probably just go with the real name. But if it's like Dino or something, it'd be like, hey, Dino, let's go. Yeah, that makes more sense.
What do you prefer?
I mean, I'm okay with Ian. A lot of people call me BDL in the game just because it's a lot easier than saying ball don't lie every time, but it doesn't matter to me really.
Either way. So why is there so much passion in tech?
Why indeed? um, if I had to boil it down to one thing, I would say it's the community and the relationships that people have. It's kind of not all that unique from other games. I mean, just doing this documentary, I think of like the Super Smash Brothers documentary and how close people were there. Like there were these little rivalries that I never knew about. But I watched the whole thing, even though I didn't even really play the game that much. It was just kind of cool to see a community of people gathering together and playing these games. And I think that's very similar in the sense of Tag Pro. Like people play this game and they kind of fall in love with it, and then they hang around the same people over and over, and eventually they get so close. So I think it brings them joy. It's kind of like working all day and then going home and seeing your friends. It's basically the equivalent.
One thing I'm wanting to get at with this documentary, and also the Smash Talk is a huge influence on this, by the way.
Understandable. It's a great doc.
Yeah, that was amazing. You know Samox, the creator, plays Tag Pro?
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
Come on,
Yo,
Samox, where you at? Help us out.
I'll try my best to place him. Well, we'll talk about it after. But yeah, he's made some Tag Pro videos.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now. So, for one of the April Fools, for one of the updates for one of his docs, he came out and he's like, guys, like, I can't be doing the documentary anymore because I'm joining Major League Tag Pro and I'm going to be the best Tag Pro player ever. Go look it up. Go look up like Samox April Fools.
I have to.
Tag
That's
Pro
hilarious.
or something like that, and it'll
You know,
come
now
up.
that you mention it, I think I remember seeing like a clip of it or something. Someone mentioned it.
Probably got posted on the subreddit.
Oh,
at when it came out.
100%. Any
Yeah.
mention of Tag
Any
Pro.
Tag Pros.
That reminds me, it's kind of a side note. This reminds me of when someone posted a picture of themselves in, I believe it was Trailer Park Boys, and they had in the background a Tag Pro shirt on in like a courtroom scene or something. And I was like, is this edited or is that actually in? That's so cool. It's so cool to see that kind of stuff. It cracks me up.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
But going back to what I said
Sure.
before I got completely sidetracked. One thing I'm trying to get at with this is like this idea of you get into Tag Pro, you start playing pubs, you start getting into competitive, and you get better and better, and you get into majors, and you know maybe you even get the goal that everyone's hoping for, which is winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you know you sit back and look around, and like you know all these people, and they all know you, and they come to you for advice, or they come to you for just to talk, and you're like this known member in the community. But I guess the idea I'm getting at is like it's only within this space, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily go out and brag about the Super Bowl
In
real
public?
life. I mean, maybe you do. I'm assuming here.
No,
But,
you don't.
And you know, it's only like once you shut down that computer or close that laptop, you know, that all vanishes, and you're just Ian. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's not this, you know, the figure that you are within Tag Pro. So does any of that resonate with you?
I guess I never really thought of it that way, but it's a good way to put it. I try to be the same like person that I am in game or when I'm on Tag Pro that I am outside. So it's not all that different for me, but I do know I could probably tell you that there are some people in the community that I bet if you met them in real life, they'd be very different from what they are in Tag Pro, which is always interesting. But it makes sense because anytime you put humans together, they're going to want to be relatable and kind of similar to the people that they're interacting with. So a lot of the times they kind of adapt a different personality altogether than what they may have in real life. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but it is kind of an interesting thing to say like, oh, you're this this person in this game and then a different person kind of outside of life. So it doesn't really affect me in that sense, but I think it definitely can affect other people for sure.
But yeah, I mean, do you like? How do you feel about talking to people about your tag pro career?
So if they're my friends, I probably already told them about it because I tried to get them to play. But if they're like coworkers and stuff, I don't bring it up. But I don't think it's because it's tag pro necessarily. I get kind of weird about that with any game that I played. Gaming for a long time was kind of looked at as like, I don't want to say nerdy, but maybe nerdy is the best word. For a long time, and just like in the past like 5 years or so, maybe 10 years, it's kind of gotten bigger into the sense that like it's okay to play video games. You know what I mean? So I'm still like hesitant to ever like say, like it's just weird to like go up to somebody and be like, yeah, I play this game, I won a Super Bowl, you know, it's no big deal. They're like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? So plus it's like a lot of the stuff is very cheesy, like the ball puns go out of, you know, all crazy, you know, the Super Bowl, the Ball of Fame, like cracks me up, but like in general people aren't gonna know what you're talking about. So it's not really something I bring up unless it's my friends that I try to get them to play. But I have talked about it with people before, but it does make me kind of like squirm a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, we're going.
Okay.
So, in your mind, who's the GOAT?
It's Grief Seeds, without question. I think if I had to put a list, it'd be Grief Seeds. Legman would be second. I mean, Dino's got to be up there because he was the first to. What's interesting about his career is that he was able to win titles in multiple eras. So he won, I think, 2, like season 4 and like one of the earlier seasons. And then he won kind of in the modern eras of like season 8 and season 9 back to back. So that's pretty unique. I mean, just in general of how he carries himself. I mean, he's definitely got to be up there in terms of the conversation, but I think Grief Seeds.
What sets Grief apart?
The first thing that comes to mind is mechanics. The dude is a machine. Just looking at the raw numbers, if you look through the record books, if you ever get a chance, look through them and you'll see like for most returns in a season, I think he holds the record with, I mean, this is probably a little bit off, but like 881 returns in a season. I think the next highest was like 662. That is, I mean, 200 plus returns over the next highest person is just unbelievable. And he did it pretty much every season. He was always top returns, like top prevent or like second in prevent. And he did it like, because obviously there's Cynical, who you have like really good defender, but his KD is insanely high, but he also kind of avoids the tag pros, like even when it doesn't make sense. So, but Grief always had like a 2 KD. So it was just impressive to me that he would get these numbers while still dying like a decent amount. I don't think there's ever been anybody that has been like him in the game in terms of dominance. But Legman is unreal too because he was so good offensively, and when he switched to defense, nearly just as good. It didn't make sense for someone that skilled to be that good right away. And I think his first season on defense, he won a Super, season 9. He played with Arby Bear. So obviously that's going to be an ongoing debate forever, but if you ask me, it's going to be Grief Seeds forever and always just because of his dominance at a high level.
How do you feel about the whole botting situation? Do you feel like that?
He didn't bot. He did not bot, man. I will, to the day I die, I'll put it on my tombstone. I swear to you, he did not bot. And the reason I'll tell you is this. A lot of people kind of got the view from the outside in, and I was on the inside because the season that he was banned was season 7, and I was on that team in all caps. I was on the minors team. That was my first season. So a lot of the times we would scrim against our majors team, which was Grief Seeds, Yassiria, and Bowtie, and Helen. And so I'd play offense against Grief Seeds a lot. I would get destroyed a lot, but it made me a better player. I loved going against him because he was so good at what he did. I have played against bots before multiple times, and never once did I think, okay, what the hell, this guy's cheating. Not one time. So it was always surprising to me that people were so quick to be like, oh, he's botting, oh, he's botting. And I think it's because he's just one of those players that's really good at a lot of different video games, so he's able to kind of master things very quickly. I mean, he plays other games and he's very good at those as well. So it wasn't surprising to me that he was so good at this game. He was able to understand it very well. So they agree. I mean, it's hard to.
Sounds like the cap sound.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah. But I don't know, man. I don't think he botted. I've talked to him about it. He says he didn't bot. I don't have any reason not to believe him. You've met him. He's just that good. He's just that good.
So I'm going to read you a quote,
Okay.
and then you can just whatever comes out of it, whatever you feel about. They're just gonna keep going.
Yeah. Sounds like they're doing like Boy Scouts or something.
That's fine. Yeah.
Woo!
All right. We'll try to get through this. So here's the quote.
Okay.
A lot of people use Tag Pro to fill some kind of void in their life, whether it's a lack of socialization, self-esteem, or companionship. The problem with filling those voids with a game like Tag Pro is that in most cases, it's just an approximate answer to the void you're trying to fill.
I would agree with that. I think for me specifically, not to keep using the same thing over and over, but I was a very competitive person, and not having something to compete in hurt. And I don't want to say I was depressed, but Tag Pro kind of filled a void where I was in a new area. I didn't have a lot of friends at the time in real life because, again, new area, didn't know any of the people. So it was just very easy to like jump on my laptop and be like, these people know me, these people are nice. And so very quickly it became something that I did every single day, every single night, and would hang out with these people. They were my friends. So I would 100% agree with that. Tag Pro is kind of unique in that sense, in that because the community is so small that people get attached, and it does fill something that's missing from their life, whether it be competitive outlet, friends, whatever the case may be, but it definitely does fill that void for sure.
Wait, real quick cut. So what has Tag Pro given to you?
Ooh. A sense of pride, confidence, and it's given me that competitive outlet that I've kind of craved for a long time, or had craved. And honestly, I got to meet a lot of cool people through it, and I still will continue to, I'm sure.
So I do need a number for this. If you had to estimate the number of hours that has gone into pubs and majors and commentating or whatever else,
Yeah.
related to Tag Pro, how would you estimate that?
God, it's embarrassingly large. It sucks because my pub stats say like close to 770 or 800 hours, somewhere around that range, but that doesn't even touch the countless hours of scrims, of games, like you said, of streaming, of Jesus. I'm trying to like do like the mental math of all the season minutes.
This doesn't have to be like.
I know it doesn't have to be exact.
to the-
Yeah, I don't know. It's very high. I've played for so long. I'm gonna say, man. I mean, it's got to be upwards of. It's got to be over 2,000, at least. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than 2,000.
And do you regret that time?
Not at all. No, there's not a time where I'm like, I look back and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have been doing that. No. I mean, sure, there were the times where, like, that day I went for the daily that I'm like, should I have done that? Probably not. But do I regret it? No. Come on.
This is my last thing, and then we can go into what we wanted to talk about.
Sure.
So you had to summarize your time with Tag Pro in one sentence. How would you do that?
Lucky would probably be the word that I use. Just lucky. Mostly, can I expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a little vague. So, yeah, explain that to me.
I started playing Tag Pro when I felt like there was something missing in life, and it was good for me to be able to interact with people, to be able to compete, and I feel lucky because I found it while browsing Reddit one day. Like, it's just so random. And such an important piece of my life was from just literally browsing the internet one day. I was bored and I clicked on this link, and then the rest is history. This is why I'm here right now. If you had asked me when I first started, like, hey, or you would have told me, hey, you're going to be featured in a documentary, I'd have been like, what the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean? So it's crazy to think that I'm here now. So I feel very lucky that I found this game, that I've enjoyed it so much, and that I got to experience everything that I've experienced.
What would you say to someone who looks at the game and then they see, oh, you're just playing games?
I mean, I would say that they haven't got to experience the community and what it is and what it's all about, and the different people that you get to meet while playing, and the characters and personalities that come out during these games, and the different kind of maps that you do, like the buddy systems, all that stuff. So it's more than just a game. It's definitely a community, and it's definitely something that people feel very attached to for a good reason.
Where do you see Tag Pro in 5 years?
Alive. I know a lot of people would probably disagree with that, at least from an MLTP standpoint. Every single season it seems like, oh, this is the season that MLTP is dead. Next season is not going to exist. And then we play another, and then another, and then another. So I think that as long as I'm around, I can try and keep it alive for as long as possible, but we'll see.
And you'll still be playing?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, tell me about streamers. So, do you remember much about Tag Pro TV?
Yeah, actually, that was probably one of the first experiences I had, because I think, could be wrong, but I think they streamed the season 5 Super Bowl.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, I think they were the ones. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to double check, but I remember seeing clips of it when I had first found the game, and that was like the big one at the time. And I was like, oh, they actually like broadcast the games. I didn't even realize that. And then it quickly moved to Ron Sponson, who I found, and he did the season 7 Super Bowl, which, in my opinion, was, up until season 9, was the best broadcasted one. It had like, I remember they had like an analyst booth. They had commentary on the side, like in between halves. They had obviously exciting commentary from Ron. There were graphics, there were hype videos. I remember the commercials for like the MTC and like all the different tournaments, all put together by all these people. It's just such a crazy, unique thing to watch. All this user-generated content. And then season 9, MLTP Live, Ron and Liquid just absolutely crushing it in both commentary. Pithy deserves a big shout out as well for running things. While they were the face of it, he was kind of in the background running things. They were just awesome at what they did. The commentating was always super exciting. And that actually kind of reminds me I want to thank everybody that has ever voted for me for Best Commentator. I always enjoyed streaming the games and commentating the games. and I'm glad people enjoyed it because it was something that I was always interested in. I went to college for journalism, and my whole idea was like to get behind sports journalism. And so commentating was something that was always appealing to me, and so I gave it a try, and people seemed to like it, so I kept doing it, and then I wanted to improve and be the best, and then people voted, so I was the best. But it was just awesome. I always like doing it. People get really excited that I get excited, and I think that's really cool because I kind of encapsulate what people are feeling during the games a lot of the time. So I just want to thank everybody for that. But yeah, Ron and Liquid and Pithy and BBQ Chicken and all those guys.
What do you remember with barbecue chicken?
He was big. The first thing that comes to mind is people used to give him a lot of crap because he would do, instead of like what's considered the standard now is like the center map, he would like follow individual balls while the game was being played.
Well, I think that actually wasn't a feature for at least some of his time.
Oh, the center wasn't really a feature at all?
I think that was something they added. Yeah, they did.
No kidding. That's interesting. I didn't know that part.
Yeah. Maybe it was still a decision.
If they did add it afterwards, he still did it though, because I remember specifically people like teasing him about it. But it was just very cool. Like his voice was very unique. He had a good voice, and I remember him doing like some of the top 10 commentary. That was always really special. He had that kind of like radio voice that sounded kind of good, along with Ron. They were both just awesome.
I think Ron's voice is something to talk about too. Or maybe his pronunciation of certain words.
Tag Pro. Yeah. No, he's got some great lines just in general. I think one that was popularized during season 14, I think that's when they did shot callers. He, a couple of times I remember him saying like, oh, a little bit of razzle dazzle, jingle jangle, like that kind of thing is very funny to hear him say that. But yeah, his Tag Pro thing, very, very popular.
What's your saying? What's your phrase?
Ooh, I don't know if I have. I think my thing is that I get very excited when big plays happen, so people just kind of resonate around that. I try to take like a very professional approach to the commentating as well, just like kind of like how in my head like an NBA announcer or a NFL announcer would go about things, and then when the big plays happen, just getting really excited about that play, just having a genuine reaction. I think people like that. But yeah, there's so much fun commentating and watching other commentators. It's a lot of fun.
Well, final words. I mean, there's gonna be stuff we walk away. You're gonna be
like, damn, why didn't I bring that up?
Yeah. But
I mean, I feel like I covered most everything, but I do want to give thanks to a couple people. Jem, Halsey, Fat, Milky, Dude McGuy, Aardvark, Ty Frozen and Arm Branch. Who else, man? Legman. I mean, all the big names, Grief, even Hark. They all kind of, the first couple people I mentioned were just like some of the best teammates I've ever had. Yas is up there as well. And then the second people, I always loved playing against the best players because that's when you tend to play your best, in my opinion, because you want to prove something. So I always love to go against them and continue to go against them. Intercess, Toasty, all those guys. So always thankful for that as well. That's about it.
Cool, man. Well, we got through.